Welcome to Buying Local. I'm your host, Mike Nelson here, joined today by two people from Six Marketing. We have Chris Ryan, who is the Fearless Commander. Supreme Commander at Six Marketing, if I remember correctly. That's your official title. And then Leah Parillo. But Leah, I don't know what your title is. Do you have a fun, cool title like Chris does?
I'm the Purveyor of Fun at Six.
Ooh.
Really, AKA VP of Business Development and Growth.
And growth, yes. Yeah, because you guys kind of have a cool little twist. I don't want to say twist is probably the bad word, or not the right word, but you kind of have a different view on marketing. You call yourselves a growth agency. Is that correct?
That is correct.
That is correct. Can you guys go ahead and give us the rundown of what a growth agency is or does?
It's not all that hard to comprehend. Basically, we look at a business holistically and we figure out the ways to help them grow. More often than not, it's not always marketing. Sometimes it can be sales. Sometimes it can be operations and systems. Sometimes it can be processes, which also falls within that bucket. But once we look at a business holistically and really understand where there might be potential pitfalls or areas that we can improve upon, we come back and we customize just an approach to help them grow. Very often, we find that marrying marketing, sales, and technology helps them provide the biggest amount of success when a lot of our competitors solely focus on just delivering marketing and hope it works, for lack of a better phrase.
Right. Because hope is an amazing strategy. Speaking of hope being a strategy, that was something I learned about in Sandler training. I know you guys kind of connect with them a little bit here in what you do. Can you kind of describe that to us as far as your relationship?
Yeah, so in line with our approach overall, this holistic approach, we found out a long time ago, we started like a traditional marketing agency, doing all this great marketing, making sure it's sexy and it's performing. And then we slowly realized like, hey, it's one thing to deliver all these leads, but without having a sales element to help convert them, there was a huge part of the puzzle missing, which is why we converted the agency. How that parlays to Sandler is two parts. We developed a strategic partnership with Sandler Training in general. Matt Scarkelli out of Albany, great guy. We've been working with him for years. So he comes in and helps our clients when there seems to be a sales issue or helps them with pipeline management, customer service. But we also hired an internal business coach and sales trainer on staff, which we've been working with for 7 or 8 years right now. So we really have this dead-eye focus on sales specifically because that's the key. Every owner, every business we talk to, if we're selling growth, we need to grow the business and we need to understand that sales will really kind of drive the force. And then we come in with marketing and customer service and the whole 9 yards. So that's what we're shooting for.
Yeah, that's something that Chris and I have learned through doing marketing for 20 plus years, which sounds terrible to say out loud. Each. And then, of course, our team as well. But we've sort of learned through the years that if a part of the business is broken, which seems very obvious, right? Whether it's customer service, whether it's sales, whether there's toxicity in the internal team, anything we bring them in marketing isn't really going to run through the pipeline. So, I think that sort of changed our way of thinking. It sounds very practical and obvious, but, it's something that we've kind of learned the hard way and really implemented that very strongly through our strategy. So
now since you guys brought up and I love that you separated that it's 20 years each, because we're spring chickens really. But Chris, why don't we back up a little bit and just talk about like how Six Marketing even came to be, right? So how did you, how you just got started in the business? I think you were in marketing already. Give us a quick rundown on how that all happened.
Sure. Yeah. So we're coming on our 12th year in business. We started in Vermont. I'm from Vermont, started an agency there, and then we parlayed over to Saratoga, and we have a small office in Tennessee as well. But I owned a different company before for 17 years, again, dating myself here. But it was a promotional company. So we did a ton of events, a ton of marketing. I know Leah has that background as well. So after that, I took a director of marketing position at a pharmacy chain. So I was working with multiple agencies. So kind of a grassroots, school of hard knocks approach to marketing, which is why I'm so very focused. We're very focused on the entrepreneur, the organization. Mm-hmm. Like we very much believe it's a partnership because we've been on the other end of that. And we've worked for different companies as their marketing director. So long story short, after that tenure at a couple, owning a business and working for a corporation, I said, hey, like, I have the skill set. I want to start something. I want to bring something new. And like I said, we started as a marketing agency and then we evolved it very quickly to a growth agency.
It's interesting. And Leah, what about you? How did you get started in the marketing business?
Very serendipitously. I'm actually a musician by trade and traveled and sang for a while and took a marketing position just as a part-time job. Got into it and really felt like, it was something I enjoyed. I love the creative side of it. I do like the data geeky side as well, which is, again, something that's
tracking and metrics
to admit. Yeah. So, and then I worked at a software company as a marketing director and then worked at some other agencies. When my kids were little, I did a lot of freelance marketing. And then did some client services. So I was like VP of client services at an agency for a while and sort of delved more into business development with Six. And it's been such an excellent experience and something that I really believe in. I believe in our team. This is a really big plug here, but
yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, but I do. I think that we're best of, and we really have grown a lot over the past few years. So.
That's awesome.
It's great to be on it.
Now, I know we want to talk a little bit about kind of what's going on in the marketing industry right now and trends and all that fun stuff and talk about how much we all love social media. But before we do that, Chris, tell us a little bit about your model. Because again, I know outside of just being a growth agency, but just kind of how you work with your clients and kind of how you bring the services to the forefront of what's going to best fit their needs. Like, you guys kind of have a different approach than most marketing companies that I've seen. So you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we have a different approach. I mean, we certainly don't necessarily consider ourselves a marketing agency. We're a consultancy that operates and delivers the services that we consult on. So, I hate to say like Uber, but we're trying to define a new market. And honestly, what's the best way to help a business grow? So the way we approach that, our methodology is to literally, it's pretty simple, 101, meet with clients, listen to what they're saying, and customize the plan. We don't sell packages. There's no one size fits all, and every single client, even within the same industry, is completely different. So we kind of know where most of our clients want to go and where they're going to go and how to get there. But the order in which we put this in place is based on their priorities, what's the immediate need. And as long as we have those long-term goals in place, then we help them get there. Most of our clients have been with us for years, some over a decade. We still have our very first client, which we're super proud of. So yeah, I think that's overall just our focus. And really, we just want to help them grow in any which way we can.
Nice.
The end.
The end. So let's talk about what the listeners want to hear, right? And not just us sitting around telling jokes, but current trends, marketing, agencies, growing your business in general, right? Because you guys are a growth agency. So, I mean, what's going on in the growth market? Like, what do businesses, especially now, right? I don't know if we're heading towards a recession. We're in a recession. There seems to be a difference of opinion there, but everyone knows that like things are getting worse, not getting better. So, from a growth, how does someone grow their company or grow their business in the environment that we're stepping into?
It's a good question. I mean, it's really different with every single business. Some businesses are thriving in this economy and some businesses are thriving in COVID. And the others, unfortunately, it's the exact opposite. I'm excited to talk about trends and how to grow businesses because I think that's probably what everyone is likely listening for. Again, we're starting to see more of a marketing connected to sales. More people are starting to think like us, even though that, I think we were one of the original companies to come up with this idea years ago, but more people are understanding that marketing can't be a standalone and sales can't be standalone departments. They really have to be kumbaya and work with one another. So that's one of the trends that you're seeing on a lot of the blogs lately. You're seeing certain companies like HubSpot, we're a HubSpot partner. They're big into these types of trends. Sandler's doing the same thing. You're seeing sales trainers. Sandler is partnered with HubSpot. So you're starting to see a lot of alignment between sales, technology, and marketing, which is really good for us positioning wise. But, from a takeaway for your listeners, do your sales department talk to your marketing department? Are you guys working together? Things of that nature. That's one, I think, major trend.
And that's the age-old argument, right? Where marketing's blaming sales for not converting the leads they bring in, and sales is blaming marketing, saying there's not enough leads coming in. And so what you're saying is, one of the big trends is really connecting those two. So it's no longer sales and marketing, but more of one continuous process where they're both working in what do you say, kumbaya. Working in harmony.
Yeah, 100%. Because if you think about it, right, it's marketing, sales working together, making sure that operations and processes are in place, finance is doing their thing. But there's an element of customer service too. Mm-hmm. So, one-on-one, once again, marketing brings in the leads, sales converts the leads where marketing will help them out, and then customer service comes into play. Mm-hmm. And then everybody is working customer service to ensure things like word of mouth start happening, referrals, because that's, the number one way most businesses grow.
Mm. Oftentimes, trends can get us in trouble because people will come in and say, well, we see that so-and-so is doing influencer marketing and we want to do influencer marketing. Well, why do you want to do influencer marketing? And then we kind of ask the questions and go through a very arduous process to get to the point where we say, you know what, the problem isn't so much that you need to do influencer marketing. Mm-hmm. The problem is that, you need to build a foundation first. We need to kind of go through and figure out what's going on in your organization, which we keep talking about. And, where can we build it from the ground up so we actually have a machine built that is producing leads, that is, producing outcomes, not just the shiny thing that's happening right now that's, in blogs and in social and all those other things. So I think, that's something that I hate to say pride ourselves on, but I think, oftentimes, like we recently talked to someone who wanted a new website. Well, what's really going on? Are you getting leads? Are they going to your website? And so then we've decided, we need to do a project instead, and we need to do some research before we, go ahead and put the shiny thing together.
Sure.
So it's very interesting where our conversations go when people come in and on, talking about trends and things like that.
What are your thoughts on the influencer market? Because I feel like that's something that everybody sees. Right? Like everybody that's on social media, they jump on there, they see, oh, so-and-so's got 25,000 followers on Instagram, or, they're getting millions of views on TikTok. And, is there a value locally? Now, I know you guys work both locally and across the country, so I don't, it's kind of a barbed question, but, from a local standpoint, is there value in influencer marketing? Like, is that something that people should even be looking at?
100%, but it matters what type of business you're in, and it matters where you are. So if you don't have the foundation set, if you don't have the sales and marketing and operations and customer service in place, just doing the fancy new thing doesn't make sense. Influencer marketing is one of the top, if not the top trend of 2023. But same thing with social media. When every new social media comes out, companies think that they need to be on every single, does it make sense for your business? Is the thing to ask. It certainly has huge upsides for certain businesses. Micro influencers, so you don't have to go out and pay the Kardashians millions of dollars for a post. There's micro influencers locally that we've worked with that have a big following, so you can align with people that help you promote your product because they're, for lack of a better word, popular. They've built a brand around that. So again, I hate to say it depends, but what's going on with your business? Sure. It definitely makes sense probably for most businesses at some level, but we need to understand where they're at before we say, sure,
And if I heard you correctly, what I heard you say in there was before you start going into an influencer marketing campaign, there's other things you want to make sure you have going on or have together first, right? Is that fair?
I would say, yeah. I mean, if we're looking at specific tactics, right, we all know that Meta, Facebook, Instagram ads are a key component of a lot of people's marketing plans. We know that Google ads are always the age-old go-to for direct response. We know that having a good website. But yeah, you need to make sure that you have the right thing shored up. So from a tactical perspective, one thing that companies come to us is, what tactics are we using? Should we be investing in these? Are they giving us a good ROI? It's really hard. And, being a business owner myself, we're subject to this too. Oh, something new is out. Should we try it? But really just understanding where it goes in the entire landscape of your marketing plan is key. Otherwise, if you're working with a smaller budget, you really could sabotage yourself, and really hurt your efforts.
Of skipping some of the other stuff and going right to an influencer campaign. Yeah.
It's all about prioritizing. Like, what's the best? If you're firing on all cylinders and you have a brand awareness and you want to build a good following, sure, jump right on that. But, make sure the order's in place. And that's what we help people, because most people don't know marketing, and there's, how it is, Mike. Something changes every single day. And we need to be ahead of that to be able to understand, okay, this makes sense. It doesn't make sense. Maybe let's test it and see what happens.
And when you say the order's in place, I mean, what do you think the order is that people, so if people are listening to this and they're like, hey, like, this is where I'm at with my marketing. I send out an email and I've got the social media and I'm on the Google and all that stuff. I mean, what's the order of how people should be looking at their marketing operations?
We have a very succinct process. So we need to understand the market. We need to understand our competitors. So there's a lot of marketing strategy. A lot of companies we work with just go to market. Okay, let's try a bunch of stuff. So if the marketing strategy is in place, your ideal customer, your ideal persona, depends on B2B versus B2C. If you have the plan in place, then you can start executing and making tactical risks, like tactical, just let's try TikTok and see what happens. Let's try Microsoft ads. Is that even an option? Let's try programmatic. But without the plan in place, what happens more often than not is you come in and you're learning on the fly. So what's the downside of that? You waste a lot of money, right? Maybe you strike gold. It's a roulette game at some point there. But you just don't have the dedicated plan in place. And it doesn't mean you have to go out and run a 5-year strategic plan, right? It's just knowing your audience, knowing where they are, understanding the trends, and being able to adapt along with them. Being agile and being able to change as you go is highly, highly important and crucial when you're developing these. So I don't know if that makes sense, but really it's strategy first. Yeah. And then tactics that align with the different strategies you come up with.
Yeah. And we make sure too that we have ways to measure those things like very carefully, and we pivot pretty quickly if we find that something's not working. But to Chris's point, when we put a plan in place first, there's more of there's more probability for success, right?
Gotcha.
As you know, we do work with certain clients, depending on budget, that will take more of a crawl, walk, run approach, where we try, certain channels and we try certain things first. And then if we find that those are working, then we amp those up and we put more budget into those until we can get to sort of that run pace.
Yeah.
So, there are two different approaches, but we always say it's best to look at the data first, look at the market.
Yeah, and then make educated decisions from there. Yeah,
yeah. Know your ICP, know your personas. Yeah. And go from there.
What, you mentioned TikTok, so I just got to ask, is TikTok really all that it's hyped up to be these days? I mean, how do you see TikTok interacting with brands right now, or the importance of it? I mean, the relevancy of a B2B client. Do they need to be on TikTok? Do they need to be doing that stuff?
Depends on the size B2B. Probably not for B2B. Realistically, TikTok is just a platform. Short video is highly impactful though, right? We live in a world, we're all used and accustomed to a world where you get immediate results. Sure. Video is starting to go that way, and you're a videographer, so you know more about this than we do.
I'm not a good one though, Chris.
You're a great one. But from the marketing perspective, we see short videos, reels, whatever you want to call them, TikToks, working very, very well. So if you can get your point across in a handful of seconds and it's cool and it works and it's engaging, go ahead. Yeah, it's there. But ask yourself, do you have the resources to come up with a dedicated content plan to really be that creative when it comes to assets? Every single person that calls us, every company, pretty much asks about TikTok. What should we do? It's the new carrot. Yeah. Short video is certainly a big component. Whether you put it on TikTok or not is a different question.
It's a whole nother story. Yeah. And that's, and we kind of were talking about this offline before too. And I just, the place of social media right now in general, right? And when it takes, to engage a company to create content to go on social media, it's not inexpensive. And it doesn't matter who you go with and what level of the market they're in. There's no cheap option. Right. Everybody's got that, it's like a Yeti, about I've heard that this exists, but I've never seen it. And it's the cheap intern, right? Like, oh, I know so-and-so, it's got a cheap intern, does their social media and it's amazing. It's like, yeah, it's kind of like the Sasquatch, man. Like, I've heard that exists, but I haven't actually ever seen it myself. I'm just wondering what your thoughts are in general on social media. Is there an upside? Is it worth it for companies to pay people to do it for them? Or, what are your thoughts, guys, on social media right now?
So realistically, social media has changed, right? It came out and people were like, we don't need to be on social media. Every business you talked to 10 years ago was very, very wary about being on social media. Now it's a constant. Now it's as important as your website, solely for just having position out in the public. Mm-hmm. Now, what's happened with social media is organic social media used to be huge, right? You post something, everybody sees it.
And explain to everyone what organic means.
Sure.
We know what that means.
Yeah, that's just you posting on your page or your profile for whatever reason. So if you post content, traditionally 6, 7, 8 years ago, it was highly valuable. A lot of people saw. So what did Facebook, Instagram, everyone do is they started putting algorithms in place to have fewer people see your post. Mm-hmm. This is why marketers always argue about the impact of organic social media. You feel like you need to do it. You had success if you've been running this for years, and now all of a sudden the algorithms are working against you. Why do they do that? Because they want you to pay to play. Yeah. Same thing with Google. If you want a prime space, you got to run Google ads and make sure that you're top. Otherwise, you're going to come up on page 10, 12, 13, unless you're investing in SEO, which you should do too. But realistically, social media has an impact. You should do some level of organic. Yeah. It's just decreased from where it was before. LinkedIn's best practice is post 4 times a day. Like, come on. That's not realistic even for enterprise level salespeople and things of that nature. But if you combine
4 times a day.
4 times a day.
I couldn't imagine paying a company to do social media for you.
It's not
for that amount of. And does it have any real effect? That's the question that, I have that people are asking all the time is, does it matter at this point if I follow best practice? If I'm posting twice a week or twice a day, does it matter?
Again, it depends on the industry. Some certainly, but realistically, regular posting, we'll call it, aka or organic, just isn't as strong. However, does it solve some other problems? Does it solve customer service problems? Mm-hmm. There's a big trend where people are using social media just to talk with a company.
Sure.
It also solves problems where if I'm looking up your company, not only am I going to look at your website and your reviews, which are huge, I'm going to look at your social media page. Mm-hmm. Are you posting? What does your culture look like? So again, you may not see direct ROI, so it has a position, but it's certainly organic social certainly has fallen to the bottom of, let's say, a lead generation tactic. Yeah. It's more of a window into who your business is and what you do. Every single one of our posts, we do all sorts of posts on our pages. The ones that have the most amount of engagement is when people see our people. Yeah. What are we doing? What's going on? What dog is in the office today? These are usually the engaging posts. Half the time it's our parents and mothers and things like that. But that's the point. People want to see what's going on. They want to see what's behind the curtain other than they see your website and they see we're excellent at doing A, B, C, right? We can help you with X, Y, Z. Social media gives it more of a real feel. Yeah. But if you're interested in lead generation and you're interested in B2B, LinkedIn, Meta at some level, programmatic, these are just all fancy tactical words. Yeah. But they're powerhouses when you pay to play.
And when you say LinkedIn, you're really talking about the ad side of LinkedIn, the lead generation, the paid side of LinkedIn, 100%. not the organic side.
Yeah. We do have a LinkedIn outreach program that we run for B2B businesses. And oftentimes they will connect and they may not respond. So that is a good opportunity to use that organic strategy on your personal page to get in front of them so that there is some brand awareness. And eventually when the need arises, they think of your company.
And two things that you guys are both saying often is brand awareness and lead generation, right? And the distinction between the two of those is pretty clear, I think, when you're in the business. But when you're not in the business, it can be a little foggy for people. I mean, what are your thoughts on the differences between lead generation and brand awareness? And does one come before the other?
Same answer. It depends.
Ah.
If your goal is to grow followers and build a brand, and you have a buku sales team crushing it with qualified leads, don't run lead generation or run a small version. The exact opposite. If you have a brand that is very dominant and you own the market, you need to invest less on things like brand awareness. But to answer your question, brand awareness is pretty simple. I have a product or service, and how many times do we hear, Leah, that I have the best product or service and my customers don't know about me, or people have never heard of me? Like, that's super frustrating when you are a company that you're working, blood, sweat, and tears, not sleeping at night, and you know you're better than everybody else in the market.
Sure.
And people just don't know about you.
And that's brand awareness.
That's brand awareness. You know, constant being in front of people.
Thought leadership.
You know, things of that nature. Lead generation is, we need to grow revenue.
Sure.
Right? We need qualified leads coming in, and we need our sales team to develop enough prospects to have enough opportunities to grow the business. So again, B2B, a little more. When you're running e-commerce, it's direct sales, right? It's a little bit different, but.
And you're looking at very different strategies for each one of those, right? Like, you're not doing the same things for brand awareness that you're doing for lead generation.
No, tactically they're completely different, but they do work together.
Sure.
So kind of like we talked about with sales and marketing working together. When Leah says you run a lead generation strategy and then organic social posting helps out, she's right. Like, you're getting them in the door, they're researching you, now they're going to learn more about you. And then vice versa. If you create a name in the market and people are coming to you, you know, that's going to help, and that's going to help your lead generation efforts. So yeah, I mean, there's lots of areas, but those are probably the two biggest areas that people come to us. You know, I have a business that nobody's heard of, or I don't have enough leads.
Yeah.
We hear that. Probably every agency hears that.
I think one of the things that I've heard the most over the years, no matter what I've been doing, has been, once I get in front of people, I have no problem closing them, but I just can't seem to get in front of enough people. Like, I think I've heard that it didn't matter if it was when I was at Sandler or previous to that when I was doing commercial snow removal. You know, like, anytime I talk to anyone, that's always the problem that they have. They can't get in front of enough people, but they sell everybody that they get in front of. Sounded like a pretty good statistic to me. I was like, wow, everybody. That's pretty good.
Well, if you have a high close rate and you don't have enough leads, then yeah, it's a marketing problem.
Yeah.
You know, and vice versa. More often than not, if you're working for an agency, it's not necessarily a lead problem. It could be more of a sales problem, is what we've found. But yeah, I mean, that's, you know, it's not, again, I keep saying it's not rocket science, but if you have qualified leads and you have a good sales team and you have good processes in place, your business is going to grow. It's not that easy, right? You have to take a hard look at every single aspect of your business. And we do this for ourselves. We hire consultants all the time. We're part of EOS. You know, we are customers of Sandler. We're in that program as well.
EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System. Yeah. I love that. Gino Wickman, right?
Gino Wickman.
Traction. What a great book. I think I've read that like 80 times over the years.
Yeah.
Who are you working with at EOS?
We work with Dave Borland.
Oh,
locally,
okay.
So
yeah, well, he's Burst Marketing, right? Back in the day?
Back in the day.
Yeah, he's a pretty good guy to work with from an EOS standpoint. He knows a couple things about marketing agencies and
he was
growth
great.
agencies. Yeah.
It was a perfect hire because he owned a marketing agency.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, you know the mistakes that either you've made or we're making and help us grow. But no, it's been life-changing. Like, we've been very good on marketing. We've been very good on sales. You know, full disclosure, we try to work processes so we can be more efficient for our clients, for ourselves, you know, so we can sleep at night. But EOS has helped out.
Wait,
certainly.
you get to sleep at night?
Sometimes.
That's bullshit.
I know.
Chris is lying.
What other kind of trends are you seeing for 2023? I mean, what's, you know, if someone's listening to this, what's the big things they should be thinking about for 2023 or watching out for?
So you want the scare tactic one?
Yeah, well, yeah, we'll do both. Do the kumbaya one and the scare tactic one.
All right, let's start with the bad before the good.
Okay.
So everybody hears data privacy. So data has completely changed. And you're going to hear this more and more frequently from marketers, is that without full disclosure of, I know everything about you, Mike, you know, your kids, where they go to school, everything, the more data privacy comes up, the worse digital marketing works. It's still the best out there. It still has a very large part of your budget compared to traditional and everything else. But just having a lack of targeting capabilities that before you could reach, hey, I want to reach this SEO for this reason and get right on the phone with them with a targeting tactic. You can't do that anymore. So Google, Apple, they're all fighting right now when it comes to data. So if you take anything away from this podcast, first party data is your best friend. What does that mean? That means put a lot of efforts into building relationships with people and getting their information. If you have their birthday, if you have their email, you have their phone number, that is highly valuable data, as opposed if we have to target 25 to 54-year-olds and males that live in this area or females or what have you. It's just completely changed. Last year, this was a big change. It's cost of acquisition 10 times what it was 5 years ago.
Sure.
So it's much cheaper than a lot of the other marketing methods, but data is going to be key. And the more data that you own, the better marketing you're going to be able to do. So run those newsletters, get people to engage, get them to message you, get their phone numbers. You can text them if you're in that type of business later. But the more data you have, the better your marketing will be. So it's a super scary area. But so that's the doom and gloom.
The doom and gloom.
But the golden age of marketing, we hate to say, has kind of sunset or on its way out. But Leah, what's the good one?
Wait, what's the good? Wait.
Well, I did the doom and gloom. So
Chris is good cop, bad cop here, Leah. He did the what to be afraid of in 2023. We want to know, what is the shiny, happy, positive thing to look out for, the trend for 2023 marketing?
Okay. Sure. So my background is B2B marketing, although we do some B2C as well at Six. From a B2B perspective, I would say utilizing, like I talked about earlier, LinkedIn for outreach seems to be a really, really good area right now. That could eventually, kind of like what Chris was saying, and now I'm doing doom and gloom, could eventually disappear. But for now, it's a really great way to get in front of your prospects in a very personalized way. Account-based marketing is still alive and well. Account-based marketing is really just getting in front of those people that you want to get in front of and choosing your whales. There's different types of account-based marketing. There's one-to-one strategy where you're reaching out kind of individually to those people that you really want to get in front of. And then there's sort of like one-to-many, right?
Sure.
Where you're doing sort of more of a net approach. So there's the hook approach where you're looking for that particular fish. You're using a very specific bait and you're getting in front of those people that you want to get in front of. We put together playbooks often for our customers where we would take kind of an omni-channel approach and we take them through the pipeline. So we do very top of funnel content, mid funnel and bottom of funnel content, and kind of take them through that process to get them to either, talk to a sales rep, whatever that call to action is.
Yeah.
So that's still very alive and well. And it's something that we use very often with our B2B clients. For shiny, happy stuff, I don't know what else. Again, kind of augmenting that lead generation strategy, using organic, using those other tools, I think is really important. And valuable content is still super important.
Yeah.
It's just getting the right type of content in front of people that matters, that, maybe you can gate and put a form in front of it and collect a email so that we don't have to rely on iOS data. There's different scrappy ways that we can get in front of people still.
Scrappy,
that's my favorite word. I named a dog that once.
Did you? Yeah, Scrappy.
Yeah. Now I'm squirreling. No, Chris is going to charge me $1 because I just squirreled. But that's really the gist of it. And, being creative and really knowing your personas and your ideal customer profile is super important. And that's usually where we start with people, is really understanding what makes them tick, even down to where are they on the disc profile? And they, and if are they a D, an I, an S, or C, what's important, what resonates with them. Those are all really important things. So, I think it's important to remember that we are marketing to human beings and we are human beings, and to really understand what is their pain and how can we address that pain and help them to reach their goals.
I think real testimonial to Matt over at Sandler is I'm listening to Leah talk, and she's talking about pain and DISC assessments. And if you're not familiar with DISC, you should definitely check that out. It's DISC assessments, personality assessments. But Huge tool though, building buyer profiles and buyer personas, right?
Yeah.
As far as disc goes, because everybody likes to be sold to in a certain way or likes to be marketed to in a certain way. And I know I'm kind of higher on the D scale. And so when people start giving me too much detail and stuff, I start to get irritated. And I'm like, hey, listen, I don't want to talk to you anymore. Can we not have this conversation? Like and it's just my personality. Or like if I'm talking to someone who's a C and I'm getting frustrated because they want all of this detail, and I'm like, is this really necessary? But for them it is, right? So I gotta learn to change my approach. But
surprisingly, I'm a high I, so I'm like the golden retriever of personalities.
Yeah,
so,
the golden retriever.
Just like me. Yeah.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I'm like a high D, high I.
Okay.
So like, and I'm just a little bit more D than I, and I have absolutely no C whatsoever. Zero.
Yeah.
None.
I'm part C, believe it or not.
Are you really?
Yeah. It's weird.
Chris,
I'm a D and an I, surprise.
Yeah.
But I think the takeaway here is just knowing how to communicate. So whether you're creating advertising or whether you're writing a proposal, if you have somebody that doesn't want a lot of details, don't get in their way of buying, right?
Yeah.
Like to me, if you give me bullet points, great.
Sounds great.
I'll buy it. If it make a mistake, I'm okay with that. There's different personality types that don't think like that. They want to make sure that all the the engineer mindset, like all the theory is there and all the logic is there, where I'm okay just making mistakes, things of that nature. But these are big type of strategic things that we look into when we're creating ads or when we're developing profiles. But it completely is a game changer if you think about it. We know Mike and I are Ds. We know Leah's and I. Going in or creating advertising for Leah specifically, I don't want to call you a golden retriever, but
that's hilarious.
But that attracts the golden retriever, and just gets you to participate is really just the first part of that quote unquote funnel. We want to create awareness and make sure that you get the right message to the right person at the right time. Like that is the key when it comes to marketing specifically.
In the right place too.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like most, like for example, and this is generalizing, but like an IT person don't necessarily want to be reached out to on LinkedIn sometimes, right? Not always, but sometimes that's the case. So we have to be really creative in where we reach them, right? So that's sort of what we take into place when Chris and I keep talking about putting together research and a plan, which sounds horrible when you're saying research and plan and audits and all these things, but that's the reason why we do it.
Doesn't sound very exciting.
No, it's not very exciting. But when it comes down to your budget and your dollars and, wasting those or actually getting some real return on investment, then those things are very important. Yeah.
It's funny. I used to be such a geek for the disc stuff. And all I keep thinking now that you said that about the golden retriever is I used to have this one thing I would do with high I personalities. And it was, I would tell them I would like them no matter what. So, because, a high I, their biggest fear is that they won't be liked by the person. That's why they have buyer's remorse so much, because they say yes because they want them to be liked, And so every time I was with a high I and I was talking to them, I'd be like, hey, listen, even if you say no, I'm going to like you no matter what.
Yeah. You said that before this, that you would like me even if I bombed the podcast. So I appreciate that.
Well, I must have sensed that you're a high I personality.
You've been bamboozled.
You've been bamboozled. So I know we're wrapping it up here. We're getting short on time. But any other things to watch out for 2023? What if someone is going to smartly spend their marketing dollars, obviously other than hiring you, what should they be looking at or what should they be doing?
Certainly just take a hard look internally. I think probably one of the big changes is because we're coming out of quote unquote COVID, things are starting to level out from a perspective. So COVID forced us to be reactionary, right? All of our marketing plans, all these massive, hundreds of thousands of dollars in trade shows went out the window. That's coming back, right? Yeah. People want to see other people. They want to be in person. I think this is the first year that my conference schedule is starting to fill up in the last 3 years. So, but it's a little of both. So you can start to plan a little bit longer. So instead of being reactive for a quarter or a month, maybe it's a half a year. But be aware that people want to see people. So sales, a lot of people have been forced to be on Zoom calls. Instead that works great for some people. And then other people, they want to do the lunch and learns and be in person and things of that nature. So you're starting to see things start to trend back towards personal connection, I think, is probably one of the things I would say. Leah, anything?
From my end. I mean, I agree with Chris. I think people are definitely wanting to connect with other people. I also think people are engaging more, like I just said earlier, you know, with content and learning and growing, and not stagnating,
Mhm.
you know. So during COVID, I think that, you know, obviously it was horrible and very depressing. But I think now people are engaged again. They want to grow. They want to grow as people, and they want to grow their businesses as well. So, you know, that's something I'm seeing. I'm on calls pretty much all day,
Yeah.
you know, with prospects, and that's really the trend that I see.
Okay. And if people want to talk to you, learn more about how you can help them, where do they find you?
On TikTok.
On TikTok, yes.
You can, I mean, here's the plug, but you can find us at six.marketing, SIX.marketing. So there's no .com, just come to six.marketing. You can book a meeting with Leo right away. You can see our content, but we're happy to answer any questions. We're a big part of this community, and we're very much want to give back to this community. So if anybody even has a question, you're like, hey, I have no budget, I don't know what to do, give us a call. We'll help you, you know, we'll put you in the right direction. But we're totally happy to answer any questions, but you can hit us on chat, you can hit us on social, or just go to our website. That might be the easiest.
Website. And social media, you're on all the channels?
We're on all the channels except TikTok.
Except TikTok.
Yeah.
Are you on the Twitter?
We are on the Twitter.
And you tweet?
We tweet occasionally. We tweet, honestly, largely when we're at shows.
Okay.
But Twitter's an interesting area. You want to talk about trends?
Yeah.
With Elon buying Twitter, that's an interesting space to see what happens. I'm not pro, I'm not con, but it's an area to pay attention to for 2023, because there could be a fair amount of opportunity there.
And again, I guess if microblogging is something that's a strategy for your company and your brand, but again, I guess that would be one of those it depends identifiers. But
those types of tactics you test, right? Like, all right, let's start running some tweets. That's a terrible way to put that.
Right.
But if you start tweeting and start putting some, you know, maybe you're capturing a space that's, you know, there's a whole demographic of people that came back to Twitter because of Elon. There's a whole demographic that left. So if that happens to fit your target customer, hey, it might make sense. But again, just test it. If you don't know what to do with any marketing tactic, test it minimally. Don't go all in and spend tens of thousands of dollars on a tactic. Test it. If it works, do more.
Do more, yeah. Aim small, miss small, right?
Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you so much for coming in. Really appreciate it. Coming in to talk to us about growth agencies, marketing, and all the stuff that helps people grow their business. So, and if you're listening, check us out. You can find us SaratogaBusinessReport.com, SaratogaTodayNewspaper.com, and everywhere that you get podcasts. We are buying local Saratoga. Thanks for listening.